Om Sai Ram. Om Sai Namo Namah. Shri Sai Namo Namah. Jai Jai Sai Namo Namah. Sadguru Sai Namo Namah. Om Sai Ram. By the grace of Baba's blessings, I have been given this opportunity to read the Sai SatCharitra for all of you. Om Sai Ram. Today we'll be reading chapter 5, Baba's return with Chand Patil's marriage party, welcomed and addressed as Sai, contact with other saints, his dress and daily routine, the story of the Padukas, wrestling bout with Mohdin and change in life, turning water into oil, the pseudo guru Javhar Ali, return with Chand Patil's marriage party. As hinted in the last chapter, I shall now describe first how Sai Baba returned to Shirdi after his disappearance. There lived in the Aurangabad district, Nizam state, in a village called Dhoop, a well-to-do Mohammedan gentleman by the name Chand Patil. While he was making a trip to Aurangabad, he lost his mare. For 2 long months, he made a diligent search but could get no trace of the lost mare. After being disappointed, he returned from Aurangabad with the saddle on his back. After travelling 4 kos and a half, he came on the way to a mango tree, under the foot of which sat a Ratna, queer fellow. He had a cap on his head, wore kafni, a long robe, and had a satka, a short stick, under his armpit, and he was preparing to smoke a chilim pipe. On seeing Chand Patil pass by the way, he called out to him and asked him to have a smoke and to rest a little. The fakir asked him about the saddle. Chand Patil replied that it was of his mare, which was lost. The queer fellow or fakir asked him to make a search in the nala close by. He went, and the wonder of wonders, he found out the mare. He thought that this fakir was not an ordinary man, but an awaliya, a great saint. He returned to the fakir with the mare. The chilim was ready for being smoked, but 2 things were wanting. First, fire to light the pipe, and second, water to wet the chapi, the piece of cloth through which the smoke is drawn up. The fakir took his prong and thrust it forcibly into the ground, and out came a live burning coal, which he put on the pipe. Then he dashed the satka on the ground, from whence water began to ooze. The chapi was wetted with that water, was then wrung out and wrapped round the pipe. Thus everything being complete, the fakir smoked the chilim and then gave it also to Chand Patil. On seeing all this, Chand Patil was wonderstruck. He requested the fakir to come to his home and accept his hospitality. Next day, he went to the Patil's house and stayed there for some time. The Patil was a village officer of Dhoop. His wife's brother's son was to be married, and the bride was from Shirdi. So Patil made preparations to start for Shirdi for the marriage. The fakir also accompanied the marriage party. The marriage went off without any hitch. The party returned to Dhoop, except the fakir alone stayed in Shirdi and remained there forever. How the fakir got the name Sai? When the marriage party came to Shirdi, it alighted at the foot of a banyan tree in Bhagata Malspati's field near Khandoba's temple. The carts were loosened in the open courtyard of Khandoba's temple, and the members of the party descended one by one, and the fakir also got down. Bhagat Malspati saw the young fakir getting down and accosted him. Ya Sai, welcome Sai. Others also addressed him as Sai, and thenceforth he became known as Sai Baba. Contact with other saints. Sai Baba began to stay in a deserted masjid. One saint named Devidas was living in Shirdi many years before Baba came there. Baba liked his company. He stayed with him in the Maruti temple in the Chavadi and some time lived alone. Then came another saint by the name Jankidas. Baba spent most of his time in talking with him, or Jankidas went to Baba's residence. So also one Vaishya householder saint from Puntambe by the name Gangagir always frequented Shirdi. When he first saw Sai Baba carrying pitchers of water in both hands for watering the garden, he was amazed and said openly, "Blessed is Shirdi that it got this precious jewel. This man is carrying water today, But he's not an ordinary fellow, as this land Shirdi was lucky and meritorious. It secured this jewel. So also one famous saint by name Anandanath of Yevala Math, a disciple of Akalkot Maharaj, came to Shirdi with some Shirdi people. When he saw Sai Baba, he said openly, "This is a precious diamond in reality. Though he looks like an ordinary man, he is not a agar, ordinary stone, but a diamond. You will realize this in the near future." Saying this, he returned to Yevala. This was said while Sai Baba was a youngster. Baba's dress and daily routine. In his young days, Baba grew hair on his head, never had his head shaved. He dressed like an athlete. When he went to Rahata, 3 miles from Shirdi, he brought with him small plants of marigold, jai and jui, and after cleaning, he planted and watered them. A devotee by the name of Vaman Tatya supplied him daily with 2 earthen pitchers. With these, Baba himself used to water the plants. He drew water from the well and carried the pitchers on his shoulders. In the evening, the pitchers were kept at the foot of the neem tree. As soon as they were placed there, they were broken, as they were made of raw earth and not baked. Next day, Tatya supplied 2 fresh pitchers. This course went on for 3 years, and with Sai Baba's toil and labor, they grew a flower garden. On this site at present stands the big mansion Samadhi Mandir of Baba, which is now frequented and used by so many devotees. The story of Padukas, footprints under the neem tree. A devotee of Akalkot Maharaj by name Bhai Krishnaji Ali Bagkar worshipped the photo of Akalkot Maharaj. He once thought of going to Akalkot, Sholapur district, taking the darshana of the Padukas, footprints of the Maharaj, and offering his sincere worship there. But before he could go there, he got a vision in his dream. Akalkot Maharaj appeared in the vision and said to him, "Now Shirdi is my resting place. Go there and offer your worship." So Bhai changed his plan and came to Shirdi, worshipped Baba, stayed there for 6 months and was happy. As a reminiscence of this vision, he prepared the Padukas and installed them on an auspicious day of Shravan, Shaka 1834, that is 1912 AD, under the neem tree with due ceremonies and formalities conducted by Dada Kelkar and Upasni. One Dikshit Brahmin was appointed for worship and the management was entrusted to devotee Sagun. Complete version of the story. Mr. B. Vidyo, retired Mamlatar of Thana and a great devotee of Sai Baba, inquired about this matter with Sagun Meru Naik and Govind Kamlakar Dikshit and has published a full version of the Padukas in Sai Leela, volume number 11, number 1, page 25. It runs as follows. In 1834 Shaka, 1912 AD, one Dr. Ramarao Kothare of Bombay came to Shirdi for Baba's darshana. His compounder and his friend Bhai Krishnaji Ali Bagkar accompanied him. The compounder and the Bhai became intimate with Sagun Meru Naik and G. K. Dikshit. While discussing things, these persons thought that there must be some memorial of the fact of Sai Baba's first coming to Shirdi and sitting under the holy neem tree. They thought of installing Baba's Padukas there and were going to make them of some rough stones. Then Bhai's friend, the compounder, suggested that if the matter be made known to his master, Dr. Ramarao Kothare, who would prepare nice Padukas for this purpose. All liked the proposal and Dr. Kothare was informed of it. He came to Shirdi and drew a plan of the Padukas. He went to Upasni Maharaj in Khandoba's temple and showed him his plan. The latter made many improvements, drew lotuses, flowers, conch, disc, man, etc. and suggested that the following shloka or verse regarding neem tree's greatness and Baba's yogi powers be inscribed. The verse was as follows. Sada nimbar vrikshasa muladhivasat sudhas ravinam tik tamapi apriyam tam tarum kalpavrikshadhikam sadhyanatam namamishwaram sadgurum sainatham. Upasni's suggestions were accepted and carried out. The Padukas were made in Bombay and sent to Shirdi with the compounder. Baba said that they should be installed on the Purnima, 15th of Shravan. On that day at 11 am, G.K. Dikshit brought them on his head from Khandoba's temple to the Dwarkamai Masjid in procession. Baba touched the Padukas, saying that these are the feet of the Lord, and asked the people to install them under the foot of the neem tree. A day before, one Parsi devotee of Bombay named Pastha Sheth sent rupees 25 by money order. Baba gave the sum for the installation of the Padukas. The total expense of installation came up to rupees 100. Out of it, 75 were collected by subscriptions. For the first 5 years, G.K. Dixit worshipped the Padukas daily, and then this was done by Lakshman Kateshwar Jakhadi. In the first 5 years, Dr. Kothare sent ₹2 per month for lighting, and he also sent the railing around the Padukas. The expense of bringing the railing from the station to Shirdi was ₹780, presently ₹750, and roofing was paid by Sagun Meru Naik. Now Jakhadi Nana Pujari does the worship, and Sagan Meru Naik offers the Nevedya and lights the evening lamps. Sai Krishnaji was originally a devotee of Akkalkot Maharaj. He had come to Shirdi at the installation of the Padukas in Shaka 1834 on his way to Akkalkot. He wanted to go to Akkalkot after taking the darshana of Baba. He asked Baba's permission for this. Baba said, "Oh, what is there in Akkalkot? Why do you go there? The incumbent Maharaj of that place is here, myself." Hearing this, Bhai did not go to Akkalkot. He came to Shirdi off and on after the installation of the Padukas. Mr. B. Video concluded that Hemant Pant did not know these details. Had he known them, he would not have failed to depict them in his SatCharitra. Wrestling bout with Mohdin Tamboli and change in life. To return to other stories of Baba, there was a wrestler in Shirdi by the name Mohdin Tamboli. Baba and he did not agree on some items, and both had a fight. In this, Baba was defeated. Thenceforth, Baba changed his dress and mode of living. He donned kafni, wore a langot waistband, and covered his head with a piece of cloth. He took a piece of sackcloth for his seat, sackcloth for his bed, and was content with wearing torn and worn-out rags. He always said that poverty is better than kingship, far better than lordship. The Lord is always brother, befriender of the poor. Gangagir was also very fond of wrestling. While he was once wrestling, a similar feeling of dispassion came over him, and at the proper time he heard the voice of an adept, saying that he should wear out his body playing with God. So he too gave up samsara and turned toward God realization. He established a math on the banks of the river near Puntambe and lived there with disciples. Sai Baba did not mix and speak with the people. He only gave answers when he was questioned. By the day, he always sat under the neem tree, sometimes under the shade of a branch of a babul tree near the stream at the outskirts of the village. In the afternoon, he used to walk at random and go at times to Nimgaon. There he frequented the house of Bala Saheb Bengali. Baba loved Mr. Bala Saheb. His younger brother named Nana Saheb had no son, though he married a second wife. Bala Saheb sent Nana Saheb for taking darshan of Sai Baba, and after some time with his grace, Nana Saheb got a son. From that time onwards, people began to come in numbers to see Sai Baba, and his fame began to spread and reached Ahmednagar. From thence, Nana Saheb Chandorkar and Keshav Chidambar and many others began to come to Shirdi. Baba was surrounded by his devotees during day and slept at night in an old and dilapidated masjid. Baba's paraphernalia at that time consists of a chillum, tobacco, a tumrel, tin pot, long flowing kafni, a piece of cloth round his head, and a satka short stick, which he always kept with him. The piece of white cloth on the head was twisted like a matted hair and flowed down from the left ear on the back. This was not washed for weeks. He wore no shoes, no sandals. A piece of sackcloth was his seat for most of the day. He wore a kuppan, a waistcloth band, and for warding off cold, he always sat in front of a dhuni, sacred fire, facing south, with his left hand resting on the wooden railing. In that dhuni, he offered as oblation egoism, desires, and all thoughts, and always uttered Allah Malik. God is the sole owner. The masjid in which he sat was only of 2-room dimensions, where all devotees came and saw him. After 1912 AD, there was a change. The old masjid was repaired and a pavement was constructed. Before Baba came to live in the masjid, he lived for a long time in a place, Takia, where with ghungur, small bells on his legs, Baba danced beautifully, sang with tender love. Turning water into oil. Sai Baba was very fond of lights. He used to borrow oil from shopkeepers and keep lamps burning the whole night in the masjid and temple. This went on for some time. The Baniyas, who supplied oil gratis, once met together and decided not to give him oil. When as usual Baba went to ask for oil, they all gave him a distinct no. Unperturbed, Baba returned to the masjid and kept the dry wicks in the lamps. The Baniyas were watching him with curiosity. Baba took the tumrel, a tin pot which contained very little, a few drops of oil, put water into it and drank it and forced it to fall in the container. After consecrating the tin pot in this way, he again took water in the tin pot and filled all the lamps with it and lighted them. To the surprise and dismay of watching Banyas, the lamps began to burn and kept burning the whole night. The Banyas repented and apologized. Baba forgave them and asked them to be more truthful in future. The Pseudo Guru Javhar Ali. 5 years after the wrestling bout mentioned above, one fakir from Ahmednagar by the name Javhar Ali came to Rahata with his disciples and stayed in Bakhal's spacious room near Vidarbha temple. The fakir was learned, could repeat the whole Quran and had a sweet tongue. Many religious and devout people of the village came to him and began to respect him. With the help of the people, he started to build an Idgah, a wall before which Mohammedans pray on Idgah Day, near the Vidarbha temple. There was some quarrel about this affair on account of which Javhar Ali had to leave Rahata. Then he came to Shirdi and lived in the masjid with Baba. People were captured by his sweet talk and he began to call Baba his disciple. Baba did not object and consented to be his chela. Then both Guru and chela decided to return to Rahata and live there. The Guru teacher never knew his disciple's worth, but the disciple knew the defects of the Guru. Still, he never disrespected him, observing carefully his duties. He even served the master in various ways. They used to come to Shirdi off and on, but their mainstay was in Rahata. The loving devotees of Baba in Shirdi did not like that Baba should stay away from them in Rahata, so they went in a deputation to bring Baba back to Shirdi. When they met Baba near the Idgah and told the purpose for which they came, Baba said to them that the fakir was an ill-tempered fellow and he would not leave them and that they should better return to Shirdi without him before the fakir returned. While they were thus talking, the fakir turned up and was very angry with them for trying to take away his disciple. There was some discussion and altercations, and it was finally decided that both the Guru and the Chela should return to Shirdi. And so they returned and lived in Shirdi. But after a few days, the Guru was tested by Devidas and he was found wanting. 12 years before Baba arrived in Shirdi with a marriage party, the Devidas, aged about 10 or 11, came to Shirdi and lived in the Maruti temple. Devidas had fine features and brilliant eyes, and he was dispassion incarnate and a Gyani. Many persons, namely Tatya Kote, Kashinath and others, regarded him as their guru. They brought Javhar Ali in his presence, and in the discussion that followed, Javhar worsted and fled from Shirdi. He went and stayed in Bijapur and returned after many years to Shirdi and prostrated himself before Sai Baba. The delusion that he was Guru and Sai Baba was his Chela was cleared away, and as he repented, Sai Baba treated him with respect. In this case, Sai Baba showed by actual conduct how one should get rid of egoism and do the duties of a disciple to attain the highest end, that is self-realization. This story is told here according to the version given by Malsapati, a great devotee of Baba. In the next chapter will be described Ram Navami festival, the masjid, its former condition and later improvement, etc. Bow to Sri Sai. Peace be to all. Om Sai Ram. Footnote for chapter 5. I bow to the Lord Sainath, who by his constant stay at the foot of the neem tree made it, which though bitter and unpleasant was yet oozing nectar. The oozing of this tree is called Amrit, that is, nectar on account of its healing properties, better than the Kalpavriksha, wish-fulfilling tree. Second footnote. Prior to 1957, the Indian rupee was equal to 16 annas and 1 anna was equal to 4 paisa. With folded hands, I humbly request Sai Baba to please forgive me for any mistake that I might have made while reading this chapter. Thank you, Sai Baba. Om Sai Ram.